Actually, I'm not sorry. Kojo Besia.
When you're doing your specific thing, your own vision, there's always people that are waiting to tell you, no, that is not practical. That is not going to happen. My name is Chelsea, and this is for the culture. I joined social media, and I think I was about 13 at the time. On Instagram, I was wondering, how does everyone have full eyebrows and I don't? Like, I'm not seeing everyone with full eyebrows. So I was wondering, like, how does that happen? And then I asked my sister, and she says, no, it's makeup. And I was like, okay, makeup does this, you know? So I started dabbling into my makeup. It wasn't mine, it was my mom's at the time. Dabbling into her makeup, dabbling into, you know, trying out other people's products. So I did take a lot of time having to teach myself.
Hey, let's go take some shots. Oh no, I feel like I'm gonna throw up. Oh wait, never mind, I'm fine. Let's go dance.
Without knowing anything about makeup, it took a lot of time to actively go out my way to learn. So with social media, it was a bit easier, you know, went to University of YouTube. We learned a little bit on YouTube. We see other creatives that are also, you know, they put out tutorials. So I took a lot of time having to sit down, learn. I think also with content creation, it was helping me a bit more to advance my creations, because then that means I also had to learn to take pictures, learn how to also like post and edit and, you know, things like that. A lot of people think, you know, you watch a YouTube video, the work is done. But no, you actually have to put in a lot of practice and practice and practice. Even until this day, with makeup, there's still so much to learn. A lot of things are changing. The makeup that we're doing today is not the same we're doing 10 years ago, 5 years ago. So there's always something to learn, and it's very becoming a lot more diverse. There's a lot of range now. There's a lot of style. There's a lot of, you know, a lot of things that you can consider when you're now wanting to learn how to do your makeup. The time that a lot of people started to do makeup or creating makeup content, there wasn't enough access to products. There wasn't enough access to like, even to just like learn from other Black women. Like, it was very difficult to find other people that were doing the same things that you were doing. So for me, it even got a bit more difficult, because as my makeup journey was growing a bit more and more and more, and the more creative I was becoming, I couldn't find other inspirations that were doing the same thing that I was doing, like other Black women that were doing the same thing, especially locally. A lot of my inspiration then had to come internationally. So I think that was one of the challenges that I had. I think now, obviously, with the more popular makeup is becoming and the more people are expressing themselves, that challenge is becoming a bit less and less.
Jujutsu Kaisen, Phantom Parade, Jujutsu Kaisen, Phantom Parade, Jujutsu Kaisen, Phantom Parade.
I also do a bit of cosplay, and I do a little bit of gaming. So I created a look, uploaded on Instagram, and I think it started like gaining quite a bit of traction, especially at the time where my account was still very small and I was still growing. So a lot of people were like, oh, you look like Morticia Addams, right? From the Addams Family. And I'm a big fan. So I kind of saw it and I was like, oh, I do kind of look like Morticia Addams, just a little bit, you know? And then it started encouraging me to do more characters, because at the time, what I mostly did was illusion makeup, creative makeup, you know, or just like expressing myself, you know, doing different things. But then I was like, oh, okay, I kind of do look like her. And it is nice, because then it also attributes to the things that I like. So obviously I do like a lot of like cartoons. I watch a lot of anime. I like gaming. I like, you know, so it's like, oh, I could actually turn myself into my favorite character, or like a character that we all like, or something like that. So that's how I ended up getting into cosplay, which encouraged the body painting, because then it was difficult to access a lot of the costumes and things like that. So it encouraged me to even be more creative. And then I started doing body painting, making my own props and things like that. Choosing a character, very easy. If I really enjoy a show and I really like the character, you know, even if they are a bad character and they're written well, it's like, okay, this is interesting. And there are people that like the character, then let's do it. And if I like the character, then why not, you know?
Yes, me, George.
Georgie, meet Pennywise. Now we aren't strangers, are we?
A storm blew me away. Blew the whole circus away.
Can smell the circus, Georgie. There's peanuts, cotton candy, hot dogs, and
Popcorn! Is that your favorite?
Uh-huh.
I do! Because they pop.
Oftentimes you get sparked by an inspiration. So be it a trend or maybe something that I've just watched or something that I've been enjoying, you know. So I'm like, okay, I want to do this character, for example. And then now I think to myself, what do I need to put it together? What is the best way to execute and to showcase that character, you know? So I feel some characters look much better when I body paint them. Some characters look much better when I actually get the outfit, you know? Some characters look better if we just focus on the makeup, the face, you know, without focusing on the body. So I kind of think to myself, what is the best way to execute this character at the best of my ability? Oftentimes also, maybe I don't have certain things. So it's a matter of like, what do I have at home for me to put together and then create this look? What don't I have? And things like that, you know, because it is now having to be cost effective as well when you want to create your look. When it's now also creating the video, I tend to visualize how I want my video to look like. So if it's a certain character, then obviously you want to really resemble the character as much as you can, you know, to sell the story of the character. So people want to look at it and then be like, oh, okay, this is really Rick and Morty, you know, from the show, or like this is really whoever. So it's like you really want to emulate the character to the best of your ability. After that, planning it, things like that, having to execute, obviously post-production, you have to edit, you have to, you know, like make sure that it looks good. I think one of the best examples regarding the whole planning phase, I did a Demogorgon from Stranger Things, and that was one of my longest looks. So when I posted it and I said, oh guys, this took me 72 hours, people thought I was in body paint for 72 hours. And I'm like, no, the whole look took 72 hours. So even having to create the face of it, the flower, it took me very long because I think that's what took most of the 3 days, having to construct it and let it dry. And there was also trial and error because that was my first time doing something that extreme. So the body painting itself probably took maybe 6-7 hours, but constructing the face of it, it took a very, very long time. But that look had to be done, and it's one of my favorites now. One of the biggest challenges when you're cosplaying now is, oh, you ruined my favorite character. She's not black. And it's like, it's a fictional character, you know, that person is not real. So why do we have to, you know, bring someone down just because of the color of the skin? Or like, why do we have to make such negative comments when people are just trying to have fun? People are just trying to enjoy themselves, you know? So I think especially in that community, that is where there's a major challenge, where people always feel what they've seen on television needs to translate exactly in real life. And that's just not the reality, you know? Oftentimes, like, people are not seeing me as an actual person. To have that shift, like in my personal life, it's actually quite, like, the difference is quite stark, because then in my personal life, people that know me, you know, and they don't expect me like to have a whole full cosplay body painting situation going on. Not at all. Oftentimes, especially at the point that I'm at now, I'm also very comfortable without having to do makeup or things like that. So it's like when people see me, they just see me in my very normal self compared to how you see me online, where I am selling somewhat a fantasy, or I'm selling a character, or I'm selling a look. And then it's like, oh, okay, this is amazing. So when I get to your house, this is what I'm going to see. And I'm like, no, you will see someone in sweatpants and jeans or a t-shirt, and they're doing their own thing. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think the two very different lives. I wouldn't say there's an intersection, but there is an expectation for the intersection, and there isn't. People get bored very quickly, especially the times that we're living in. A lot of people have a lot of options, you know, like we are following so many different types of people, engaging with so many different types of content. So if you are just doing one thing and then you're not actively doing it, you're not being consistent, it's going to be very difficult for you to create a platform. So I would say consistency is one major thing. Of course, like I said, passion, you have to be very, very passionate. You need to feel what you're doing is right for you, and not just for anybody else, but especially for yourself. So that's the thing that will keep you going, because at the end of the day, sometimes, especially with creative work, we tend to get burnout, or we tend to feel certain things. We feel, why am I still doing this? Is this going to work for me, or whatever the case is? But if you are feeling that way, you always need to remember why you started and why you're so passionate about what you're doing. So I would say that also another thing is I always encourage people to have a strong group of people that are also sharing the same interests with them. It keeps you going. So if you're someone that you are very into fashion, or you're into cars, or you're into art, also having people in your community and people that support you and you support as well, it always keeps that fire lighting when you are doing what you're doing and you're creating all the work that you're creating. So I would say those are very, very important things to have and to remember when you are creating your online platform and you also want to be a creative. The industry itself is constantly evolving, it's constantly changing, and it's very difficult to say what the future of makeup would be, because like I've said, even what we're experiencing right now in the beauty industry, very, very different from things that were happening 20 years ago, 10 years ago. A lot of brands and people are working to be a lot more inclusive, which is really, really great. And it's something that is needed because everyone wants to feel beautiful, especially with seeing like on TikTok and seeing other creators. We find creators that are also disabled and they want to do their own makeup. So that's actually quite interesting that even brands have started to, think more about that as well. Like, how does someone who can't use makeup just like the average person, like how do we accommodate such people? So I think that's very, very important. Let's have fun with it. Let's enjoy it. Let's express. Let's, be creative. Let's, let's just have a very good time when we are creating, because it is still an art form. It's, you see makeup artists, it's still an art form. It can't always be same thing every single time. Then that would be very boring, in the world would be very, very boring without the diversity. So, yeah.